All right, welcome everyone. Tonight we're going to talk about Yarrow Palm. So Yarrow Palm is this oil here, and it's a beautiful blend. So it's in my book. So if you have this book, the information is there, so you can check it out. All right, so let's talk about this. Does anyone have any stories or anything to share about Yarrow Palm? Yeah, I really like it. I have tons of stories, but I want to hear from you guys.
When I started taking it, I noticed that my nails got stronger, my hair grew thicker and longer, my skin was softer. Yeah, I really enjoy Yarrow Palm.
Yeah, it's so amazing.
Yeah, that is a staple in my home. I absolutely love it. And I use it every day, morning and night on my face. Sometimes I put it on straight up, and sometimes I mix it with my moisturizer and smooth it on up all my neck and all over my face. And I also put a drop or two under my tongue, just because I feel like energetically it just helps me. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. I'm sure that the book says something about boundaries,
Yes.
but but I can't remember what it is. I just know I got into the habit of kind of doing it, and I felt like it just helped me feel a little bit more confident with my boundaries.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so true. I see that in you too, Cheryl. So what do you think about the taste, Cheryl? Of people putting a drop under their tongue?
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's very earthy.
Mhm.
Um, it's not like bitter, it's not sweet. I don't know how to really describe it.
Doesn't
It
have
just,
much of a taste.
yeah, it has a slight taste, but it's like I don't know. There's nothing like it doesn't make me pull a face or anything.
So it's not
Like some
scary.
oils.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not a scary oil to like take internally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a very mild taste. So
that's awesome. I'm glad. So, for those people who haven't, maybe you can try it internally. This is a very precious oil. When they came out with it, yeah, I've shared it with a lot of people, and I had to kind of redo some recipes because this just kind of changed some of the recipes that I had, like eczema and psoriasis and all of these others. Um, just so beautiful. So yeah, um, if you guys have other stories, just let me know, and we can pause and hear what you have to share, because that's important. So Yarrow Palm, guys, is an expertly crafted proprietary blend of yarrow essential oil and cold pressed pomegranate. That's the pomegranate seed oil. All right, it's designed to inhibit the enzymes that break down elasticity and collagen. It breaks down that enzyme, okay, that makes us old, basically, with the added benefit of promoting more collagen production. So, yay. So, according to the FDA, it is a food additive, so it is safe to ingest. So, just know that when you ingest it, it's great for metabolic function. And metabolic function is about energy. Somebody wants to say something? Okay. It's vegan friendly, and it helps with cellular, immune support, nervous system. Whenever you see nervous system, think of it like this. Like when we're so stressed that we have a hard time relaxing and unwinding. And so if something helps with the nervous system, it kind of goes right in there and kind of unwinds you and helps you be more relaxed, because sometimes you just can't. You're just already so tightly wound up. It's just really hard to let go. All right, so you can use this to massage as well, but usually I like to massage the face, and that's why they have the gua sha. They sold the gua sha with this a while ago. I don't remember when, but in Australia and in the US, they have this pink jade rock stone thing. I like to keep mine in the fridge where it's cold. And so, when you use it, it kind of helps with the puffiness. And then, you just kind of massage it in. And then so it drives the oils in, but also it helps with that circulation in your face and it reduces the puffiness. Okay, so maybe just 2 or 3 drops. It has a dropper. Okay, so you can measure it, but I just like to squeeze it, just like 1 squeeze. And sometimes that's too much, and then my face stays blue for 5 minutes. So it's okay if it goes away. My kids, however, I don't know why, everyone's different. If they use it in the morning, they say that sometimes at school, when they're playing with their face and they're scratching or something, their nails are blue. And so it stays blue on their face for longer than what it does for me. I don't know why. So it comes in a body renewal serum so that you could apply it all over your body as well, because we have plenty of people that have lots of skin problems. And so it's a really easy delivery, way to use it for your body. But this dropper one is great for face and internal usage. Okay. The blue is shemazoline, and they say it's a great source of beta carotene. There's punic acid in this, so that's omega-5. So we have omega-3, omega-9, omega-6. We have omega-5 too, and it's an antioxidant. So this is not just a regular essential oil; it's actually a supplement as well. Okay. All right, just turn this off. Okay, so here are the benefits. You can see that there's the oil with a dropper. It's like the 30 ml, and then you have the body serum, and then a few years ago it came with the gua sha as well. So anything to do with skin appearance, especially like dry skin, so you can moisturize it. For textured skin texture and veins. So when you see popping veins or kind of like rosacea, that kind of helps with that too. It calms the mind, body, and spirit, especially after traumas, like I said, with the nervous system. So I learned from my friend about rosacea, that sometimes when you're stressed and when you eat the wrong food, because you're stressed also, it kind of stresses your body, and then it gets worse. So taking it regularly, but also calming your body down kind of helps reduce that too. So if you guys know anyone or are struggling with that, that's one thing that you could try. Yeah. It helps balance healthy blood force and flow and healthy heart support. Okay, helps repair internal wounds and bleeding. I missed the G there. So it's sort of like a little wound repair for internal issues as well. Hormones balancing, menstrual balancing, and digestion. And another time we'll talk about the supplements. Okay, the supplements is different. The little capsules, they added a few more things, so that's another day. But yeah, anyone want to share anything? Is there anything here or questions? All right. Okay, so the emotion and spiritual side is that this oil is about being safely shielded. Okay. So this oil blend serves as a safety shield on all levels. Remember, we talked about it internally. It helps with the blood flow and repair. And on the outside, it helps with your skin. Okay. And that's another level of repair. So Yarrow Palm invites us all to connect to our heart compass and honor it. Sometimes we ignore our heart because we override it with our brain. We think things through and overthink things. And then we get stuck here, and instead of following our heart, so this oil says, hey, calm down, you're safe, follow your heart. So increase your inner healing and regeneration powers by soothing the mind and calming the nerves. Sometimes we do all sorts of good things for ourselves, take supplements and whatnot, but we don't intentionally try to work on calming down. And, you know, our body needs to calm down in order for it to focus on healing. And because, you know, we sometimes feel unsafe, one way to feel safe is to remember your identity, who you are. Okay, so that's one of the most powerful tools that you have, is just to remember that, you know, you're a beloved child of God. Let go of all fears, worries, and concerns, and allow yourself to freely follow your heart. Allow God and angels to protect you as you honor your life's purpose with ease and flow. Look for evidence of the perfect flow in life, okay? Because this helps with the blood flow as well, okay? It balances the blood flow, and everything is connected and interwoven perfectly. Even when we can't see the evidence, choose faith, choose to believe that God's working on things in the background for you, and that, you know, it'll come to you in the right time, okay? Sometimes when people have blood pressure issues, like high blood pressure, it's when they believe that they will moving forward with stress, and that they're unable to have joy. Okay, so they're kind of restricting that flow forward. So if you're relaxed, it kind of calms that down and balances that blood flow, okay, and blood pressure. So this oil kind of helps with that as well. So, but we need to intentionally choose to change there. So take time to detect and define clearly what your boundaries are. Okay, we'll talk more about boundaries later. Ask yourself what you're comfortable with and not comfortable with, then communicate it calmly with yourself and others. So you need to kind of articulate it first with yourself, and then you're able to share it with others, okay? So it's a little bit of a process. Yep. Intentionally decide today that you are strong enough, okay, strong and protected with God's power. You no longer let anyone's words or actions bother you. They have no power over you. You only answer to God. Okay, anybody want to share any thoughts, any comments? One of the things I'm teaching my Bible study kids is find some scriptures that you could use whenever you feel a little bit tempted to be negative or angry or whatever. Pull up those scriptures from your, you know, storage, your files in your mind, and it'll have this power to remind you that you're a child of God, that you have power to overcome all things. Okay. All right. So the negative energy to release, unclear and weak boundaries. That's because we want to please people, right? Feeling unsafe and unprotected, feeling afraid, self-criticism, overwhelmed, distracted, and unlovable. That's a big one, when you think that what you do is who you are, so therefore you're disqualified and nobody loves you. Okay, you're not enough. So if you feel any of these, your physical body will manifest stuff. So for example, the eczema, it's your body tearing itself apart, you know, pleasing this person, pleasing that person, and just being torn. Okay. And when you decide you're lovable, your body starts to cleanse the darkness, and that's fungus, parasites, and all that yucky, and it starts to connect and weave the tissues back together again. And yeah, it's amazing as I help people heal their body. You know, just addressing the core issue like that kind of helps. And of course, you know, having something physical to strengthen the change and support them as they change. Makes the healing so much faster. Yeah. So psoriasis and any other skin issues, but mostly just, the dry skin, the skin that's torn apart. There's lots of names for them, but basically this is the root issue, okay? So the negative thoughts and beliefs that created those negative feelings and emotions. I am unsure of what I really want, so I let toxic people in, so just trying to please everybody, right? I feel responsible for others, other people's happiness. All right. And, it's easy to feel that way when you have people who are manipulative around you too. I'm hard on myself, right? So when you're unkind, it's sort of like you keep on punishing yourself and being critical. And when you're critical, you don't let love in. Okay, I tend to criticize myself. I find myself unnecessarily entertaining fears, worries, and concerns. So, yeah, if you identify with some of these things, use this oil and let's make the change. So here's a positive energy to adopt: feeling protected, safe, focus, peace, calm, balanced, discerning, balancing, give and take energy. Okay. Strong, clear boundaries, receive love, feeling wise, spiritually aware. So at the beginning, earlier, we talked about being connected to your heart. Believe it or not, sometimes people don't feel feelings and they don't feel their hearts. And because of that, they have a hardened heart. They don't have any spiritual awareness or intuition. But everyone is capable of that. It's just that they shut that feeling down. And, it's supposed to be unclear identity. Oh, no, clear identity. Yeah, that's right. So these are the positive. Anyone want to say anything? Okay. So how to have healthy boundaries. Okay. So first of all, get your fundamental human needs met by God first. So I have a video on that on YouTube. You can search my name and then fundamental human needs. So our needs are love, importance, security, variety, growth, and contribution. So if we get that down with God first, then you're able to have much, much better boundaries. Okay, so when you're satisfied and fulfilled, you don't need others to validate you, and you won't need to be manipulative of others either. So, when we need love, we kind of let toxic people in because negative attention is some attention, some love. So rather that than not. Okay, but when you do have that divine love, you suddenly feel fulfilled and you don't need that negative attention or, validation from people. So the other thing is honoring your heart compass, so really learning how to feel your heart and get to know yourself. A lot of times we self-sabotage. When we want to say no, we say yes, and then we go home and get mad at ourselves. And then we have back problems because we don't back ourselves up. And then we have skin problems because we just let people under our skin. So let's have the skills to say no. And sometimes it's just about writing it down, practicing it, and going out there and being brave and then actually doing it. So saying no to things you don't want, saying yes to things that you do want. If you have not had like a supportive, kind upbringing, then, you're learning this now. It's better you do it now than not. Okay. So, and then the other thing is understand and practice equal energy exchange better. Okay. So 4 things here that can truly change your boundaries and help you have healthy, strong boundaries. Okay. So we just need to get rid of some of the traditions too. Sometimes being a mama, you feel like you have to make everyone happy, right? But that's not true. You need to let them have their responsibility of happy. And when we know who we are, when we know our contribution into the world, know what we're here for, you can be excitedly engaged in your mission, and not always be available for everyone, for everything. Okay. Any questions, comments? Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you've seen this before. It's something that I learned in high school and then again in college. It's just like psychology. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So we all have to kind of grow up, right? But sometimes when we've not had good upbringing, the fundamental human needs hasn't been fully met yet. So we still feel this lack of strength, inner strength and maturity. So what I suggest is we go to God and allow him to help you meet these needs, because otherwise we can't actualize, we can't be on the top when the bottom stuff is still not taken care of. Okay, so it's sort of like talking to an elementary school child, within, and telling that elementary school child to like go to college, right? It's just really hard. So, be patient with yourself, be patient with others, and help them take care of their fundamental needs first, okay? Needs of safety, needs of belonging, needs of self-esteem. That's what Maslow talked about. So you can see here at the bottom, the basic things, physiological, air, water, food, shelter, right? So when those people who have not had those things met properly, there's going to be no boundaries, right? They're not going to have boundaries because they still need the world to help them with all of that. Feeling safe, you can go up to the next level where you have personal security, you've got property that's yours, and you have resources, you know how to use them, you feel belonging, and your needs of love is met, you have friends, and you have a community. And when you get up higher, you start to heal, you start to have health, and then you have self-respect and inner strength and more freedom to choose what you want to wear, what you want to do with your life. I can tell you now that, as I work with many people around the world, I feel saddened by the number of people who still don't feel that freedom, and they still have to figure out what they want to wear, what kind of, personality they have. They just don't know themselves yet. So, but once you discover more about yourself, then you can get to the top where, you have more inner peace and you have self-fulfillment. Okay. And when you're there, then you can be able to have healthier boundaries. So sometimes when people say, I struggle with boundaries year after year after year, I feel like, this is why. Don't force yourself to the top yet. Just patiently work up to it. Okay, because we still need the world to help us, feel safe and validated and stuff. So here's some, I guess, results or signs of like these needs not met. Okay, you feel a little bit immature in a way. You're still comparing yourself with people. You're still feeling like a competition. You're less than, or you try to be more than, or whatever. Defensiveness. When people say stuff, you take offense, and very defensive. Exclusiveness. So yeah, you know what that is. Overly sensitive, so easily hurt. Easily offended. Inward thinking. So worry about people thinking about you, what they think of you, how that benefits you, and how you're scared and how you're nervous and you're anxious. Okay. Needy. Okay. But when you're and taking. Okay. So if you look at that and you say, oh, I'm only a few of them, then good job. You're getting up there, higher in that hierarchy of needs. All right. So when your needs are met, you are collaborative. You can work well with others and trust people. You can work as a community. Okay, you are encouraging because you know what is good for you already. So you want what's best for others too, because you're outward thinking now. You're inclusive because you see people that are needy, and then you can include people. You're unattached, right? Because these things don't mean you're bad, or these things don't mean you're good. Like they don't have any meaning unless you give it to them. Okay, you're unaffected. You have understanding. So even if people, are immature or behave poorly, you can see this is their behavior right now, but they'll get there. Okay, you have outward thinking, and then you're helpful and you're more giving. You offer more things to the world. Okay, so I just feel like people need to meet these needs first for them to have really strong boundaries. Okay, any thoughts, comments?
I have a question, Jade.
Yeah.
So when you look at this pyramid, and from what I understand, you're saying it's kind of like a measurement of your maturity,
Mhm.
spiritual maturity. Do you
Yeah.
feel like all of these could be met between you and God for the most part? I mean, I know that there's a community there,
Yeah.
but let's just say theoretically you're surrounded. I'm not saying this is my case.
Yeah.
But if you're surrounded by a lot of immature societies and
Mhm.
people,
Mhm.
could you still apply these between you and God and come to a complete spiritual maturity,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though the other people around you are not responding?
Mhm. Yeah.
I
When
mean,
you
I
make
haven't looked at
changes,
it all enough and analyzed it, but
yeah.
my
Yeah.
sense of my mind tells me that you should be able to achieve these
Yeah.
regardless of how
Yeah.
people around you are behaving.
Exactly. Agreed.
Okay.
I don't think this is like gospel or anything. I just think it's a good gauge and a reflection, right? So thank you, Maslow. But it makes sense to me, right? And I'll tell you more about the chakras later on, and that it says similar things. But can you imagine somebody who's not safe? They're not going to think about how I'm going to make a connection with the divine, right? And first of all, like God will feed you manna, right, before you can figure out the higher laws. So somehow, ideally, we can have a community helping us with all the lower levels there. But if not, then we still can figure that out. Like my dad, he had a lot of siblings, and it was just war and just turmoil. Not that everyone was immature, but people didn't think about God and higher thinking at that time. It was just survival. And he said after a decade in Australia, when we've all calmed down and our nerves are all calm, and we feel like, hey, there's not going to be a war, there's not going to be a bombing around us, and we've got food, we've got plenty of food and shelter and everything, then he needed to feed his mind, and he was like hungry for more knowledge. And he says it doesn't happen until then. So most people, ideally they build up to it, and it takes a little while. But I strongly feel that we could go to God for these things, pray and ask for the miracles to happen too. And if you look around with gratitude, you're actually provided for a lot of times already, but we just don't see it sometimes because of our lack of gratitude. I know that's my case a lot of times. When I feel sad, it's just because I'm focusing on the gap and not the gain. Yeah. But yeah, when I see people like that, I just want to make sure that you're safe, you're taking care of your human needs first, filling up your cups. Are you having a strong relationship with God? Are you praying and reading scriptures and giving yourself a little bit of morning devotional, meditating or whatever? Take care of you first right now, all right, before you try to fix others, before you try to fix all of this trauma that you're experiencing from whatever, whenever, right? And so this invites us to do a lot of childhood regression as well. Yeah, because sometimes people still live in that fight or flight, and they're still anxious and scared, and that's why their physical body won't heal well. And that's, and having healthy boundaries, that's the last thing their subconscious wants right now, right? Because they have to kind of heal in these levels. And it takes time. And sometimes people have a really bad experience as a child. So, give yourself some patience and grace. Yeah. So here's another, thing that I want to share, an equal energy exchange. So once you understand and learn more about yourself, you'll, get to the point where you receive better. So, we can do favors for each other, especially with your kids. You don't want your kids to pay you when you, do their laundry or whatever. You just like say, hey, if I do this, will you do that? At least gratitude. So mummy's going to make dinner. Can you guys wash the dishes or put the dishes away? Something age appropriate, but with other humans, other friendships. So if you're the friend that's always giving, you'll feel burned out, right? So we're going to use words and practice saying, hey, if I do this, do you mind giving me this? Or, just practice saying those things. Love yourself enough, respect yourself enough, and people will love and respond to that too. So that's called the equal energy exchange. So practice that. Okay, and that is the beginning of boundaries. That helps you feel safe. Okay, and of course, using Yarrow Palm is just one way, but we want to make sure we apply this in other areas of our life. So I teach chakras once in a while, or chakras, however you want to say it. So it's sort of the same principle as the previous Maslow hierarchy. When your physical body has issues in the lower chakras, you need to take care of that first before you fix the higher chakras. Okay. So it's sort of like energy zones, if you want to put it that way. So when I look at people, I sort of have a good guess of what their physical health problem is and why they have those health problems. And you'll get to that point too, where you're like, okay, I think I know. And it's funny because I have now friends and family that do the same. Like my mom would say to my brother, hey, do you have money problems right now? Because he's got like his back is out or whatever it is. We know more now. But you can see that, if we don't have a good childhood or upbringing, sometimes we need to kind of, resolve those before we move up higher. So 0 to 7, safety, survival, tribe, feel belonging. They're similar, but they're slightly different. For me, it doesn't really matter, but it feels like just the fundamental physiological needs and need to be met. You need to feel safe and fed and stuff. As you go up higher, intimacy, emotions, money, creativity, willpower, ambition, forgiveness, compassion, empathy. So, unless we feel the love and safety, we have a hard time forgiving. So we kind of have to help people experience the stuff down here first before they can really understand the other things. 28 to 35, honesty, integrity. And I don't feel like these ages are set, because it could be your spiritual age and you could be a wise young person. Yeah. So I know in some of the scriptures I read, like certain individuals are labeled as a sober child. I perceive that you're a sober child or whatever. So I think that there's something there to being young and then also being wise. Okay. But also, if people have grown in years and they're still stuck in those childhood years, we can actually help them grow up, through those years too. My friend, she said, after her parents divorced and then her dad passed away, and then her mum was, in her mid 60s, and then she went through this teenage stage, and my friend was like, I don't get her. She was like, rebellious and wearing mini skirts and like looking for boyfriends and things. And she was like, it's kind of funny to watch. But I'm like, well, just love and support her through that stage. She needs to, she got married early and she kind of missed out on, exploring who she is and stuff. So help her out there a little bit and just be patient. Yeah. Any questions or comments here? Does it make sense, you guys? Okay.
I actually think it creates space for compassion, because if we can be an observer of, you know, those that we love and care for, often we can see, we can, like from this chart, it's like, oh, well, that makes me think of this person that I love, and realize that their emotional, spiritual development kind of stopped there or got stuck.
Mhm.
And I think our tendency is to become frustrated with
Mhm.
people, or people get frustrated with us if we're stuck in those stages. But I think with awareness and compassion, we can, like you said, just kind of meet them where they're at and support them through that progression.
Yeah. So I love that, Debbie. I just feel like years ago, before I learned this, I get mad at myself for being frustrated with people. And I'm like, why? And then
Yeah.
it's like, I don't want to feel this way about people. But as I learned to have a stronger relationship with God, I had more compassion on people. And I remembered one time before we came to the States, 7 years ago, our car was hit and it flipped over. And then we climbed out of the broken window, and then a truck hit it again. So it was like 2 hits, and, you know, it was so scary. And then, you know, the guy who hit us is just this, I think he's an illegal immigrant, because later on we couldn't find his records and stuff. But he was standing there just apologizing and bowing and bowing. And my husband and I went over there, put our arms around him and said, hey, look, we're okay. You know, you're fine. You know, you didn't mean this. And we comforted him. But when I told my friends, they're like, that would not be my initial response. You know, I would be so mad, you know, and I'll like beat them up or whatever. And I'm all, that is not even in me anymore. Right. And I feel like, oh, okay. Yeah, I've learned and grown. Right. And I feel like that's how, you know, when people are, you know, just rude and annoying, do you have in your heart love to dish out? All right. If you have like this reaction of anger and fear, then you still have to grow up yourself as well. Yeah. But once you're there, and I see why Jesus is so calm and loving, and they know not what they do, you know, like, how do they do that? But now I get it. I see the God in them. I see the child of God in them. I see the potential in people. I see how they're stuck in their childhood, how they must have had you know, a lot of troubles in their childhood, how they're experiencing fear in their life all the time. You know, I have a lot of compassion, and even I feel sorry for people, because I see through them. I see right through them, all the stuff that they've probably experienced in their life. We don't know the details. We don't need to know the details. But yeah. So that helps. Any other comments? Does this make sense, guys? Yeah. So what we need to do is just develop ourselves first, and then we'll have healthier boundaries. But one of the things that we do as we develop, we'll feel more safe. Okay. So that's the idea. Okay. So positive, enlightened thoughts and beliefs. I choose to believe that I am safe and protected. So you need to find some evidence of that. I safely operate in my zone of genius as I serve the world. This is important because when you know yourself and your needs are met, you don't need to be doing everything to please everyone. You just need to do things that God asks you to do, which is stuff that you like anyways. And stuff that makes your heart joyful anyways. Okay. And then you let everyone else be and do their thing in their lane. Okay. I believe Heavenly Father provides abundantly for me. You can start looking for evidence, and maybe at first you can't find any, but you will. I design an ideal life of peace and ease and flow. Yeah. And it'll be challenged, your resolve your boundaries will be challenged, but that gives you an opportunity to anchor it and solidify it even more. I remember that one time I was living in an apartment, and our family felt like we were on vacation. I just had my books to write, and we had a good income, and we went to the beach nearly every day, and it was just fun. And one lady says, "You're doing nothing. Can you please babysit for my kids?" Babysit my kids. And I was thinking to myself, actually, I designed this life so that I can have more peace, ease, and flow, right? But as she challenged it, I'm like, is this bad? I'm like, no, it's not bad. I did this with Heavenly Father. So anyways, I'm like, well, too bad for her. She didn't design this, right? But her problems are not my problems. Yeah. Okay. So I live my life my way and let others have space to live their lives their way. So some different thoughts to adopt here. Okay. Affirmations: I allow the protective powers of God to surround me. Yeah. I am clear on what I want and where I stand. I sometimes feel like we forget that God is protecting us and surrounding us until we're scared and nervous, and then we're reminded again, right? I allow myself to live in peace, calm, ease, and flow. Actually, going back to the second one, I'm clear on what I want and where I stand. Sometimes like I said, when people challenge you, if they're victims, they want you to do something, they'll manipulate. And then if you don't do it, because you're standing your ground and you're doing your calling, right? They would try to turn you into the villain. Yeah. And your job is to stand firm that you're not a villain, that you're a good person, you're a child of God doing his work. Okay. And once you do that, then they have no power over you anymore, no more manipulation. So I was just talking to my kids about this tonight. Like they're like, I don't want people to think this way of me or this way. And I said, well, do you believe that you're standing where you need to stand? Do you believe that you're doing what God is asking you to do? Then other people's opinion doesn't matter. Okay. I am safe to follow my heart compass. All right, that's your intuition. All right. Okay, so companion products and oils for skin. Topically, you can use the Yarrow Palm, of course, and you can add all sorts of oils. The blue tansy, cedarwood, lavender, immortelle, rose, magnolia, jasmine, ylang ylang, pomarosa, frankincense, and melissa. So sometimes people have like infections and stuff. Some of these oils like melissa and rose really help clean it up. Okay. Or internally, add turmeric to all of those things. Okay. And then for hormone balancing, you have, of course, the Yarrow Palm and Clary Calm, Clary Sage, and Whisper. That's topical. And internally, the phytoestrogen, bone nutrients, and the Yarrow Palm. All righty. Okay. All right. So here's some questions for you. How would you like to use Yarrow Palm oil?
I add it to my Immortelle
Mm-hmm.
and use it in there every day. It also comes, I know you're talking about the oil, but it comes in the capsule form.
Yep.
And I probably should have spoke up earlier, but this was one of my last, I did a scan a couple weeks ago, iToby scan, doing some energy balancing with myself. And this part came up about repairing internal wounds and bleeding. And that just really, really struck me that emotional damage can potentially be manifested that way or represented that way within us.
That's so true, Debbie.
It was such a powerful experience. And the result, well, I did a lot of work that day, but so much so that Yarrow Palm, the capsules, is something that I'm taking 2 in the morning and 2 at night for a month. So
Wow.
like extra doses.
Yeah, yeah. I like what you said about the internal wounds.
Hmm.
Oh, and physically, our body will manifest that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else?
So I have a question here, Jade.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know how. But so I deal with the high blood pressure, and I have had internal bleeding, which, yeah, it's kind of amazing I'm still alive actually. But so with her talking about the capsules, is that something that you would recommend me doing, or could you just put the Yarrow Palm in a gel cap and just take it?
Yes and yes. So I actually do the capsules that comes doTERRA cells in that
Okay.
container, because it has a few other ingredients. But I've done this Yarrow Palm. I didn't want to put it under my tongue because I wanted to take a lot. And I filled up a veggie capsule. So my capsule looks blue. And then I take that internally.
Pretty full then, right? Like
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
6 drops it would hold
Yeah.
at least.
Mhm. I would do that,
Probably.
Chalet, because the issues that you have. Personally, for me, that capsule, I take it every day. So I only need like 1 a day. Sometimes I take 2 a day. Just depends, because I use it as an omega oil supplement. Because we have different types of omega
Okay.
oil. I just want to use more. And I, when during COVID, I caught COVID too, and my hair fell out after a couple of months. But I just wanted to make sure that I help it grow back. So right now it's like thick again. But for a year it was so thin. I was like, oh, that's why I started, to take it twice a day, just to get things back to normal again. Yeah. So like those people that need, like Nora, I think that said, it really helps with hair growth. It really helps with hair growth. And for me, I'm not one that worries about it because I had a lot of hair. But with what happened, I was like surprised that, hey, a lot of hair came out. That's funny. It feels like after you give birth, to a child, the hair falls out, and that's what it was like. Yeah. But I need to use it daily. So yeah, for the blood pressure, the internal bleeding, I would try that. I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to fix it all, but it's going to help, I'm sure.
And you're talking about the ones that come pre-capsulated from doTERRA, like you take 2 of those every day.
Yeah. And like I said, sometimes I muscle test that I need this too. I would put this in a capsule too. Yeah.
Okay. Mine's not in a dripper form, so do I need to just make sure I order the one with the dripper? Because mine is like just a little shaky bottle.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the dropper is very handy, but I mean, you can just pop the thing off and then pour it. That'll be fine too.
Okay.
Yeah. Then and then next time if you buy it with the droppers. Yeah. Anybody
I have
else?
another. No.
I love your questions. Go ahead, Shalay.
I'm just trying to see how to put this together. So this is kind of going back a little bit when you were talking about creating your boundaries, and then sometimes you are villainized when you stand your ground. So do you have any advice? Because when I get in that situation where it feels like a conflict all of a sudden, when you're trying to stand your ground, and then when they villainize you, then it just kind of, things can go south pretty fast in my experience. So
yeah, for sure.
What kind of things do you put in your mind where you're actually there in the interaction and you're trying to stand your ground, but you don't want to suddenly villainize the other person. You know, I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
Can I speak to that?
Yeah. Go ahead, Debbie.
I have lots of experience with this.
Yeah.
um, so I think a big part of boundaries that can be a misconception is that it's my way or the highway or keeping people out. And that is not the point of having boundaries. Boundaries, while sometimes we say no to other people, it's really about saying yes to ourselves and inviting other people to come meet us where we're at. And giving them the choice to do that or not, and being unattached to the outcome. Because if you feel solidly connected to God and your boundaries are established with loving energy, loving emotion, then your only responsibility is really to answer to God first. And we can be very, very loving about it, even though it can feel very uncomfortable. I think that's what you're getting at. It is very uncomfortable sometimes, but we don't have to. We get to let other people have their emotions and work through them. And I found that as uncomfortable as it is at first, or sometimes, that over time, as I honor myself and I don't self-betray, hearts begin to soften. And then we have more of a meeting of the minds and hearts. I don't know if that's helpful, but yeah, I'm just gonna say it's uncomfortable sometimes, because not only are we growing, but the other person is offered an opportunity for growth too. And
Yeah.
it doesn't always feel super good
Yeah.
at first.
And I think it's all of us that will have to go through that because it helps us anchor in God, right, Debbie?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So even if you're the nicest, kindest person, I've had my friends all over the world. I have a girlfriend in like the outback. She was telling me, Jade, I love who I am now, but a lot of people don't, because they want me to be that pushover that I used to be. And I always say yes to everybody. And now I kindly say no, and they don't like it, and I'm like, I know it's okay. It's okay, because they're so used to manipulating and for you to, respond, but now you don't. And
yeah.
sad.
And isn't that the truth? They're used to like the old us.
Yeah.
Feels very familiar and very malleable, where we self-betray a lot of times and conform. And so, yeah, people are going to be a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But in the long run, I promise you, as long as you're anchored in God, as long as you're anchored in Him and your intent is pure, then you will feel confidence and you'll feel strengthened.
Yeah. So
and hearts will soften.
for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah.
My friend, she was like, hang on, I have lots of friends that are like this. I can speak to a lot of people. But one of my friends, she's like, hang on, I'm healed, I'm happy, I'm empowered. Like, they should be happy for me. Why are they mad? I'm like, I know, I get it. But they're threatened because they're like, you're different, you've changed, and so they're just nervous because of that change. But besides, like Debbie said, anchoring yourself, really, this is your opportunity to anchor, because you can easily turn around and throw negativity back because you're feeling hurt, right? So when you're feeling hurt, then, the feelings are in me. So I have to like figure something out here, because you just pushed a button right now, right? And so you fix this first, and then give time for you to have integrity, and give them time to adjust to the new you. Like, I tell my friends, like, tell them that you're not you're not going anywhere. You're still here. You still love them. You know, you're a different person, but you're not going to leave them, or, you know, that things are not going to be threatened. Things are going to be better. Just kind of reassure them that you love them even more, because now you have more genuine love for yourself and more genuine respect for yourself. And now you know how to help and love and respect them. Because when we respect people, we give people an opportunity to own their power, right? So we you know, have more confidence that they can do stuff, right? So we like say, hey, you can do it, cheering and encouraging without having to jump in and fix everything for them. You know, I know you can figure this one out, go, go, go. That is so much more loving, right, than fixing everything for people, because there's already a savior, and we sometimes have been in the way of them and the savior, right? Because we change and we fix things, and it's just extended that pain. But now they can go straight directly to the savior and receive all of the blessings and answers without us interfering. And the other thing too is ask yourself, can I be like Christ and love them regardless? And that's the true test, right? If we are Christ-like and we can see that they're still living in that space of maybe immaturity there, it's not labeling them forever, but you can see where they're coming from, and they may not appreciate, like little kids don't appreciate all the things their parents do and the wisdom of their parents because they're still in that space. Well, those people would be the same. They don't appreciate your wisdom in letting them struggle, in letting them figure things out on their own. You just need to be patient, because you answer only to God. And one of these days, you know, maybe in the eternities, they'll get it. But right now they don't. And we just need to be anchored enough to be patient and loving. So I ask myself, can I love this person? And then there's times that I'm like, I just need a vent right now. Let me figure this one out. And then write down why I'm annoyed. And then I'm all, okay, because this is my stuff. But, you know, don't suppress it. But it's just sort of like, why does this person keep on, you know, poking at me when, you know, I didn't do anything to them? It doesn't matter. It's just, it's a blessing. And we need to see it as that, an opportunity to be anchored. Because once you're anchored and time has passed and you're still here, you know, it's like no fun anymore to, you know, poke at you because you're not going to react. Yeah. But yeah, go to God, give it time, learn to have integrity for yourself, you know, fix the pains, and then fill your cup up with love. And then all you have is love to dish out. So I had some nasty texts recently, and I just sent love. You know, you are loved, you're important, because that's what they're asking for. They don't know that. Really, they don't know that they're asking for that. They just want to fight or whatever, because they're like, well, I'm in this pit, somebody join me so I can make a connection. But you're like, no, I'm not going to join you in that negativity, but I want to tell you that you're loved and you're important. Done. And it diffused. Yeah, it is a challenge, you guys, but it's a good learning opportunity, because you don't realize how much you've self-betrayed. You don't realize how not anchored you are until you pushed. Yeah. Go through it.
So I just have this question. When you record this, is all of this part recorded?
Yeah. I can stop the recording later on too, and we can continue if you want to ask other questions.
Because I really appreciate what Debbie said. Like, if I could go back and listen to this over, I would love it. And thank you, Debbie. I loved what you said. It was really helpful. I just want to go hear it, listen to it a few more times.
For sure. Exactly. Yeah. No, Debbie has gone through some stuff. So yeah, she knows. So guys, the second question.
Thank you for sharing.
The second question is, what are your thoughts and beliefs about having healthy boundaries? And so good job, Shalane. We just answered that one. And then what are some ways we can say no diplomatically and kindly? Sometimes it's just a skill, like we just haven't had the words for it. I'll give you an example. My daughter, interesting. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I want to hear this.
Yeah. So anyways, she was like nervous one day and I'm like, what is wrong? And she's like, Mom, I don't know how to turn boys down without hurting their feelings. And I'm like, that is hilarious. And so we sat down and wrote down a couple of different options. Like, thank you. I appreciate this. A gesture, but I'm not planning on dating, in the near future right now. And it was something like that. We just sat there and we laughed and kind of sat, but because, you don't have to sit around and be nervous. You can design what you want to say and just write a couple of options and practice and practice. And she's like, okay, if that happens, if they come and approach me, then I know what to say. I'm like, this is hilarious. Go ahead, Debbie.
Well, first of all, I feel really strongly about when I say no, I don't need to blame or justify anything. I
Yeah.
don't need to blame anyone or justify. And that is really important. When I feel myself going that way or tending to go that way, I already know like something is unhealed in me or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think we can lean on like, well, I have this personal policy that blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
So no, or this is how I've decided to spend my time today. So I'm sorry, I won't be able to help you this time. Or ask me again, right? Like, so we're not like saying no, not ever, depending on what it is. But if we already, designed our time and designated it for certain things that were really important, unless God, the Spirit directs, then we honor ourselves and keep our word to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And know that we're not responsible for the feelings of someone else. Like those feelings are generated within them, but we can respond in a way, that cultivates, that nurtures connection if they're willing to receive that too. So
because you're coming from love, right? You're coming from a place of love. You're not being mean, but at the same time, you need to balance your own needs and honor yourself. Yeah, that's really good. Anybody else want to share how you say no diplomatically and kindly? I like the personal policy thing.
yeah.
Always
And that, I think that's one of my things too. If I always approach and respond to people with truth and love, and together, truth and love together. Truth can sometimes be a little harsh, but when we have love coupled with it, then we'll have better communication skills. We'll have better words, word choices, phrases, and they'll hopefully feel the intent of our heart. So,
yeah. So what if you have an immature person, that approaches you and you have to say no? Do you adjust to them? What do you guys think? You know those people that are highly sensitive, they'll read everything wrong into things, right? So what about those people? I sense them right away when I'm near. Is it you feel like you're walking around eggshells? Yeah.
I think, I think that's something probably I'm still working on, censoring myself in a way, and not conforming. So I think like be you and let them adjust, right? Like be you and let the world adjust.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I feel like there's a little bit of, when you're talking to a child, there's a little bit of an adjustment because you want to talk in a way that they would understand, so kind of put yourself in their shoes a little bit. For me, I would praise, thank, and then, I'll like gently let them know that it's a no. yeah, like sandwiching things, because that's what they're ready for. And we're not creating it. My husband's like, we don't create enemies, right? So we just be strategic and tactful, because you can. If they can't, doesn't matter, right? But you can, because you have the words, and you're in the position to do that. Then do that. Just dish out what they need for now. If they need the basic security and validation, you're like, it's fine. I can tell you some good stuff, but truthful, and then you can say no. So you're honoring you, but at the same time, you're very diplomatic. Yeah. So I think it's a skill, and that's what I was talking to my daughter about. She, because my husband is like, at this age, these boys, they get nervous and they can be really hurt, if girls are rude and mean, right? So we want to let them down gently, right? And there's a way to do that, right? And so we kind of sat down and figured it out. But yeah, I mean, we're not talking about teenagers necessarily, but we're talking about adults who haven't learned, some of those skills. So I feel like there's a little bit of an adjustment, just depending what God inspires you to do.
Yeah, I can see that. I totally get what you're saying. I think there is is there a fine line there
Yeah.
between that and managing people's emotions?
Yes.
You know what I
Yes,
mean?
there is, yeah.
So we have to be really careful with that, because when we try to manage people's emotions, then
Yeah.
we're
Because you're not
manipulating.
conforming. Yeah, you're not
Yeah.
saying yes because they want you to, right?
Yeah.
So, if it's a person that says, hey, I want you to babysit my kids or whatever, and it's like that lady was like, you do nothing, so why don't you babysit my kids? I'm like, oh, thank you. Your kids are lovely, right? But right now we've got these things scheduled to do, right? And so it's not like I'm rejecting you and your kids and your puppy and everything, So yeah. Anyways, that's a good conversation. Keep going. But anybody else want to share? Right, guys, I'm going to just invite those people who are not, energy balancing practitioner to that, our energy balancing course is open right now. You're welcome to take the course. It's a 7-week self-guided course, and here's the website for that. And learn in this community, we talk more about these things in greater depth and detail. Finding exactly where things are from in our family history, and then resolving one thing at a time. Okay, and moving ourselves to a mature version of ourselves. Okay, so that's all. I'm going to stop the share now. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll stop the recording.